2, 3, 4. In this podcast, you will hear Knights of Vader. Knights of Vader includes, but is not limited to, talk of Star Wars, not Ray guns. We can't truly prepare for the jump that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox reports they are divided. Prequel, sequel, canon, love they fighted. I know that we are just musicians tired, and their time is up. So here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of ZengThis. Nope, wrong show. Thank you, An Superiority Complex, for providing our theme song. It is November 28th, and I'm Zenger. Yes, I am leading this charge again, for better or for worse, but I could not do this alone. I am joined by the 13th greatest Star Wars toy collector in all of Canada, Chris Bordius.
Hashtag not my Ahsoka. Just kidding, guys. I'm happy to be here to talk about it. It's going to be fun.
And we are also joined by the great author of the Embark series. Saga, actually, I think now. What, right? It should be Saga now?
Yeah, you can go with Saga. That'll do.
I will say Saga. John Justice. Welcome.
This is
Welcome.
The way.
Oh, perfect. So
I wanted to do a different inflection instead of this is the way. I don't think it sounds as good though.
We will see. Russ will probably be popping in later. Our great Emperor was unable to join us, but through the magic of technology, we do have his opinion on this episode, which we will discuss later. So, of course, everyone tuning in is probably wondering what we're going to be talking about today, because, I mean, what else would we be talking about? Mandalorian, Chapter 13, The Jedi. So, I actually watched this at, 5 in the morning. So I pulled a Zack on this because I woke up early because my job has been having us wake up early, and I did not have to go until later, but I still woke up super early and was like, wait a second, I could watch this episode before I go to work. And I did, and I was really happy I did because I avoided every spoiler. John, when did you watch this episode?
Normally I watch them at 3 o'clock in the morning. I have a whole routine on because I do a radio morning show, and I get up at 2:30. So normally on Fridays, I watch them at 3 o'clock, but because I had these 2 days off for Thanksgiving, I had to wait for my 13 and 18-year-olds to wake up. So I didn't get a chance to watch it until about 8:30, which disappointed me greatly, but that's the only thing that I was really disappointed about.
So anything spoiled for you? Did you avoid spoilers till 8:30?
Yeah, I actually did, surprisingly. It was funny because there were some leaks that came out that I and usually I go the leak route. Usually I read everything. And they came out and I was like, they don't know anything. And I didn't bother. And it turns out they were right. So I went into this completely fresh.
All right. Chris, what about you? What do you got for us? When did you watch this?
So I'm the polar opposite. I watched it at about 11 p.m. Friday.
Oof.
And I'd already, I think everyone knew what character was going to show up in this episode for a while. It was sort of a foregone conclusion. So I did see a picture of, it was like a screen cap of the view from the wall looking down at Ahsoka, sitting there in the fog with the two sabers on. And it's just just stop doing that the morning of, guys. You're not impressing anyone posting screen caps that day. No one likes that you're doing it. It doesn't make you interesting or cool. Just stop and reconsider all of your life decisions. But other than that, I knew that character was going to be in it, so I didn't have context for anything else there, so it's fine. So I saw it at 11 p.m. I suppose I could have watched it real early in the morning. I don't think I would enjoy it as much, but to each their own. So I got mildly spoiled, but I guess we already sort of knew what character would show up in this episode. So I enjoyed it just fine at 11 p.m. on Friday.
All right, so I guess our opening opinions on this. I enjoyed this episode immensely, but was kind of disappointed at the same time, if that makes any sense. Because I feel like the only reason this episode exists is to, hey, look, everyone, it's a live-action Ahsoka. And that is it. They do nothing really. I mean, he's still on a quest because he didn't find someone to help him with the child. I'm just going to refer to him as that until we mention the name discussion, because I don't want to get sidetracked too quickly. I don't know. I just feel like this season is just a introduction for other shows they could do, but also stringing us along until they finally get wherever they want to go, instead of having interesting story progression. We did get a lot of information on the child, which was really cool. But aside from that, I see this as, oh, get a live action Ahsoka. Oh, get a really cool, like, samurai style episode, which I thoroughly enjoyed that, with a splash of Western in there too. And like I said, I love this episode, but for the overall season, I feel like this is only there to give us a live action Ahsoka, and it does nothing to move the character arc forward for the child and Mando, per se. Dead silence.
Okay, John. Okay, John. What do you think? And then I'll read Zach's comments.
Well, hold on. I have something special. I have something special for John. Oh. So, you have not been on yet to discuss Mandalorian Season 2. So first, I want your opinion on the season so far. Then I want your opinion on the episode. To make it fair to our audience.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying Season 2 more than Season 1. And I enjoyed Season 1 quite a bit. I had made, and I don't know if this has come true or not, I had made sort of I put together like a theory that the 3 seasons that we know we're going to get, we're going to loosely follow the dynamics we got with the original trilogy, meaning the first season would be akin to A New Hope, second would be akin to Empire Strikes Back, and third would be Return of the Jedi. And I kind of feel like we've gotten that. I really am enjoying what they're laying out in Season 2 more so than Season 1, and I feel like they've got their arms wrapped around the technology better, so the shows visually just look a lot better. So that's how I feel about Season 2 at the moment.
Okay. I like it. I like your theory. I see where you're coming from with it. I agree with you. I think this may be laid out like Empire, because we do have that looming cloud of what Moff Gideon's up to. And of course, it will probably end with some downer. Who knows? But as for the episode, this particular episode, The Jedi, which I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think it refers to Ahsoka. I just think it refers to the Jedi as a whole. But that's something we will put a pin in. John, your opinion on this episode?
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with you on that. Although I thought it was odd that the Magistrate called her the Jedi and she didn't push back on it. But that's another discussion that we may or may not get to. This was probably the one episode, like so many people, that I was most interested in seeing. I've liked the Ahsoka character from the get-go. I understand the criticism that she got in the movie, which was essentially just an arc of the Clone Wars early on. But then she never really bothered me all that much, and so I was really looking forward to seeing what they were going to do, and I think I was cautiously optimistic, like a lot of people, about how they were going to translate this character that we know so well from these 2 animated series into live action. And the moment, and my wife felt the same way, and she's more critical than I am, the moment that Ahsoka showed up on screen, played by Rosario Dawson, I was like, they nailed it. And then the more you saw of her, I thought they did an amazing job. I really enjoyed the episode. It's probably my second favorite, next to Redemption, the last episode of Season 1. Mm-hmm. I felt they did lay out some threads to pull on, and the possibility of this Ahsoka show that we've been hearing for a while. And there was a rumor, I don't know, it was earlier in the year, it was a while back, there was a rumor going around that that's what Disney was going to do. They were going to set up this Game of Thrones-esque type storytelling, but not in one show. It would be on a bunch of shows. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing with this season, it looks like that we're seeing, as you mentioned, that we're seeing the those pieces fall into place. I don't have an issue. I like the fact that we're being introduced to these characters. I think Disney's doing a lot of new fan building in bringing in some of these characters and trying to grab, younger audiences, even though these are characters that we've seen before a lot of. But no, I loved the backstory on the child. I love the fact that, Mandalorian's got another piece to go and track down in the puzzle of what he's going to do with the child and the dynamic that Ahsoka set up with it. And overall, it's probably my favorite episode of this season so far, and my second favorite of all the Mandalorian episodes of season 1 and 2.
I cannot wait for Chris to read Zach's comments on this and it be his most hated episode. But I need to put a pin once again in something to remind everyone that Russ Ryan has appeared on the podcast. A wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when it means to. Russ, how is it going?
Hello, boyos. How y'all doing tonight?
We're doing good. We were like, you know what? We'll just get into it. He'll appear when he needs to. So you have come in at the perfect time, sir. Thoughts on the episode? Go.
My thoughts. Everything that John said. No. I really dug it. Like you said, first time seeing Ahsoka, and I love that they just put it right on Front Street, whatever you want to say, that immediately when it starts, everyone's like, you think she's going to show up in, 5 seconds, 10 seconds of the episode? You kind of realize what's going on. And she's almost like a monster. Like, they make her, like, dashing in the fog and the trees. The whole vibe and the setup is all really cool. I was not expecting it when they said they were going to meet her on a forest planet, that this is what we would see.
Well, was a forest planet. It looks pretty devastated now.
Yeah, cool vibes. It almost look a little Dagobah at first before you realize that there's rolling hills and that, this was probably once a real lush place.
Yeah, well, an interesting detail is when they show it from space, it kind of looks like there's, like, frontiers of forest fires all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, these lines of burning material here and there, but I guess you didn't really see any of that up close in the area they were in.
So, Chris, okay. So, as I said earlier, Zach was unable to be here for this record. He sent me his opinion. I merely took it and forwarded it to Chris, because he is, as Zach has said, his stand-in. So, Chris, if you may.
All right, well,
give us some Zach opinions.
All right, Zach left a bullet point list of notes.
As anyone would, as Zach would, it is the most Zach thing you could possibly do. Continue.
Yeah. All right, so let's go. Zach's thoughts on Chapter 13, The Jedi.
Brace yourself.
For the first time, I am genuinely excited about this show.
My God.
Oh,
Grand Admiral Thrawn. Grand Admiral Thrawn is all he says next. First time this show has felt like Star Wars proper, and not just there to promote a lackluster streaming platform. Strong words, all right. Grand Admiral Thrawn again. Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka is great, despite her voice being a bit off and her movements being slow. Grogu, is finally feeling like a real character, not just a merchandising opportunity. Grand Admiral Thrawn again.
I feel he's got something going.
Cowboy Hat Man gets it. Favreau is to blame for the show's overall blandness so far. Oh boy.
Oh, so he's taking issue with the fact that is this the first one that Filoni actually wrote?
Let me
I don't know if he wrote it.
He did. I noticed in the beginning that he.
Yeah, I think it was the first one he wrote and directed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first non-Favreau written episode. Maybe gives it that different vibe.
Yeah, Dave Filoni also wrote and directed The Gunslinger.
Oh
last
boy!
Season.
He's like, "Can I make up for last year, please?"
Yeah, so Zack continues. Star Wars is at its best when it delves into mysticism and spirituality. The space western stuff is proving to be a path to nowhere.
Okay.
They kind of tried to mystify the Mandalorians a little bit, but then you learn that there's just like one little kind of whack coven of them,
Yeah. Michael Bihn's final scene was fun, but he felt overall wasted.
Does he mean wasted and used, or that he literally seemed wasted? Like, he did look a little out of it in the beginning. I was like, one, is that Michael Biehn? Two, is he okay?
That was my thoughts. That was my thoughts too. And you know what I think it is? I think it's just been so long since I've seen him in anything. And I mean, I think I looked like he's been in stuff. I just haven't seen any of it. And so, like, I think when you see somebody age before you over years in television and film, it's not as jarring as when you haven't seen them for 20 years. Because like you, I wondered if that was him for a second. And there was something a little weird about the line delivery, but maybe that was on purpose. But that was kind of my reaction to Russ.
I tend to agree. I'm a big Michael Biehn fan. I mean, going back to The Abyss and Aliens and
all the James Cameron classics. Yeah.
But what's funny about him is that he always, even when he was younger, he had this look on his face like he needed to go to the bathroom. And now that he's older, it's more pronounced.
Right, like he might have just gone to the bathroom at this point, like the way you look at his face.
Stiff, just like I'm just okay. I've got some, yeah. So,
but the weird thing for me was just he doesn't even sound the same at all. Like that's what was throwing me off. Like the voice, I don't recognize his voice at all. But anyways, like we can get more into that. Zack, it seems like Zack was liking him and he wanted more. He wanted him to have more to do. All right, and then Zack's next bullet point, we're getting there, guys. Zack's next bullet point is giant chameleon creatures. That is all. Opening pre-title sequence with cloaked Ahsoka picking off mercenaries, and then he just has chef's kiss to that.
Oh, okay.
Have, like, the emoji thing.
Yeah.
Oh, just says chef kiss. Okay.
And then the Mandalorian Ahsoka fight. I assume he likes it, as he expresses no further opinion than having a bullet point for it. And then Grand Admiral Thrawn a final time.
With exclamation points.
Yeah, 5 exclamation points. And then bring on the Ahsoka spin-off series. And that is all.
That feels like kind of a setup for that here. In a good way. Man, as soon as that lightsaber hit that Beskar armor, I didn't know what to expect. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that, So
I know I kind of ragged on this for the overall because I feel like this whole season is just them setting up other shows. But I really, really did enjoy like I said, the samurai movie aesthetics of this episode. Like, it was so thoroughly in there, and I really enjoyed Rosario Dawson as an older Ahsoka. Nothing against Ashley Eckstein. I just feel like...
I see what you did there.
What?
Yeah, you're just like the rest of the fandom. We're turning on Ashley. It's like, well, this is the real Ahsoka. You couldn't even make it in live action.
Here's the thing. She's older. I don't know why they chose to have the immortal Bo-Katan exist, and then Ahsoka actually ages this entire time, but I felt like it was a more grounded, more lived Ahsoka. Like, she's the whole, like, she's not a Jedi anymore. That's the other thing. I was like, why would she train him? She's not even acting like a Jedi anymore, because she's not, technically. She's just somebody who uses the Force and has lightsabers.
She's not hiding from the term anymore. Like, when it got thrown out there towards her, she's not saying, I'm not a Jedi, don't call me that. I used to be a Jedi. She's not, like, caught up in that rhetoric that you had from her in the late Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, and Rebels.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people expected that that's the way this was going to go, that she would be denied, like, I'm not the Jedi you're looking for. She's like, oh, you must be here about that guy. Let me tell you all about him.
Yeah, well, I mean, my overall take on this episode is really more like Zinger's first take before he started getting apologetic and, like, trying to recorrect course that thinking, like, commenting on, like, what was good about it. Like, honestly, like, it's fun. I enjoyed it. It does. I think I don't think we're gonna really try and go through this chronologically, right? It's not the longest thing in the world. Everyone's seen it by now. I liked a lot of it. What I didn't like was the fact that Ahsoka was not interested in this kid. That really seemed like that's what made this seem like just a serialized episode. Like, what would the logical story progression here be? For me, it's like, how is she so uninterested in what happens to this kid? That I can't wrap my head around it. And then the answer is Ahsoka's only in this one episode, and we got to reset the board so we can have another wacky adventure next week. And it's just like I can't believe that this character would be that uninterested in how this plays out.
See,
Go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead,
Oh,
sir.
Go ahead and finish before I pop in.
Oh, it's just that I feel like the formula of the show is forcing the narrative. You know what I mean? That's kind of what bothers me. I feel like they can do whatever they want. So I guess their future planning, which probably involves an Ahsoka spin-off show, is what's stopping them from making her like a new like secondary character on this show. But it feels kind of wrong that she's not, in my opinion.
In the storytelling, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to, like, for me, I go the opposite on why she did that. I see it. I absolutely think that I think it's both. I think it's a product of what they want to do with the show, but for me, it fits in with what we've seen in the past of those types of decisions being made. So if you go back to when Qui-Gon first brings Anakin, they don't want to train him. He's too attached to his mother. And Ahsoka goes through that with Anakin later on, seeing his eventual downfall. And even her herself being so attached to her master in Anakin, and what that ends up doing at the end when she leaves the Jedi Order. So I saw it as a sort of direct extension of what she would and how she would be feeling, plus the fact that she's got this other thing that she needs to do as well, which I kind of injected into my own canon of why she decided to lean more on caution and being concerned, because she couldn't really take on a Padawan right now. She's got to go find Thrawn.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's just sort of like she doesn't seem like she sort of views the Jedi as like, oh, it's like she still looks at them as a positive force. You know what I mean? Like she's not hiding from their lifestyle or iconography or anything. Yeah. She's not. So like I don't know. It's just surprising me. She's sort of like, and she's like not interested in sort of following up or like connecting him to another Jedi. And like, do we think she knows about Luke at this point? She must, right?
That's a good question. Because I mean, they'd have to know about each other somehow. I don't know. There's the whole big mystery of what was she doing during the war.
Yeah, and I hope they come up with something to just explain why she's not. Give her a half decent reason to not be around, because like, she's. It seems like the way Vader was operating or circa Return of the Jedi, she could have probably dealt with him a lot easier than their prior exchanges. You know what I mean? Like she would have been pretty valuable asset for a while there, and it just sort of seems like she's so integrally tied to Anakin's character because of the media that's come out since the original trilogy. It kind of feels weird to have her completely uninvolved in that if you're trying to view it as all canon, right? So like hopefully they come up with a good reason she's off doing something else.
Yeah, you got it takes a hell of some writing to get her justified existence during the original trilogy, and I can see you putting her in the bookends like they're doing, but they might be better off just not explaining that for a little while.
Right. Well, and also like, so the fact that Ashley Eckstein voices Ahsoka in Episode 9 mean that she's definitely dead by then? Because it's like when you see Hayden's ghost in Return of the Jedi, it's like the younger version of him. I don't know.
She's gotta be. How old she would? Yeah. Well,
we don't know how long they live too. Her species.
Yeah, but I think she would be like 70 or 80 if she was still alive. Something like that. Because she's supposed to be like 40 something in this.
You sure? I figured she'd be older.
I'm just doing my math going around. I saw like 40 or 45 going around.
Yeah, because wasn't she like 14 in the Clone War movie or something like that? And she really, really young.
Yeah, so I guess she could still be alive, but it's Ashley Eckstein's voice. So, that's the thing, right? Like the whole explaining where she is during the original trilogy. Like, and I mentioned this last episode. Like we all thought when Clone Wars was wrapping up, where's she gonna go? Is she gonna die? What's gonna happen? Do you explain that she just disappears? Same thing happened with Rebels. We're like, we gotta have an explanation for where she goes this whole time. And they haven't really given it, and yet she's sort of still alive. And I don't know, it just feels kind of weird to me, and I feel like the reason is just it's a character people like, and she's marketable, so we're not going to get too specific with what's going on there. We're just going to keep putting her in stuff, and you guys are going to like it.
Yeah, she's going to flip around some lightsabers. There's going to be some Mandos flying around.
Yeah.
So shut up, eat it.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I think it's what you just said, but I think it's because they're holding off. Like by the time we get to the end of Rebels, because that's when we have the big jump, right? So Rebels ends pre A New Hope, and we get the epilogue there, and with her and Sabine, and it's post Return of the Jedi. By this point in time, she's an insanely popular character among the fandom, and Disney obviously knows this. They've been very careful in handling her, and I believe they did so. Yeah, this is more of a to me. This was a pilot for whatever Ahsoka live action show we're going to get. But my point is that there is a treasure trove of stories that can be told parallel to the original trilogy, giving us what happened to Ahsoka during that time period, which also provides the opportunity for them to kind of do what they're doing in The Mandalorian, and that is she's off somewhere else in the galaxy while the Civil War is raging. That gives an opportunity for why isn't she going back? We can get skirmishes and pieces of the original trilogy from her perspective off in the distance. I think they're holding on to that time period because they're going to try to capitalize on it later on.
So what you're saying is do something like they did with the new season of Clone Wars, the final season,
yes,
where
exactly.
It's intricately tied into technically episode 3, but we're seeing other sides of a story.
Yes.
For example, I did read the Ahsoka novel, and there's flashbacks to the events that take place during that, but they change them, of course, because it makes more sense with the story they're now telling. So them continuously retconning everything is always fun. But no, I like the idea of have her be there, but have it be like, I just don't, she can't be a major influence in the galaxy and everything, because that would be really obvious of, hey, there's another Jedi roaming around, or another. Then again, I mean, I don't know. I'm also, I know that this is really jumping super far, like a lemur style leap from one tree to another of us jumping ahead way too fast, but what other Jedi is he going to come in contact with?
The guy from the video game, or Ezra.
Cal Kestis?
I don't know really.
Yeah, Cal Kestis.
He is kind of on standby out there. No. Yeah, like he's sort of like they did put him on ice. Like we'll find something else for him to do later. So maybe that is it.
Or Ezra.
Boy, what a thought that would be, though. Like, really, if it was the big thing, and then he's like, "I'm here." People are like, "Who the hell is that?" It's like, "Oh, the guy." From the
gotta play a video game now. Get caught up. But what if it's the whole like he might have some darkness in him, so he actually contacts Palpatine somehow through the Force? Because maybe it's not just Jedi he can come in contact with. Ooh.
Palpatine doesn't exist yet. I think we can all like sort of be on the same page there, right?
He's floating around doing stuff. Literally,
is
floating
he though?
around. I you know what? I was forced to read that god dang adaptation of the movie, so I think safely say, yes, he technically is doing something in a vat somewhere of some cloned or something or another. Or, I don't know.
All right, so like, all right. I guess it should have taken quite a while to put together that Exegol fleet, I guess. If we're going to still pretend that happened.
And we're just going to also pretend that Luke just is not involved in this whatsoever? Or is that going to be the big reveal, is some de-aged Mark Hamill showing up on the scene going, sup?
Well, you know what this really got me thinking?
Because that would blow my mind right there. You would have me hook, line, and sinker, best thing ever.
Maybe, but then it's sort of like, then we got to find out what happened to Baby Yoda after Ben wrecked Luke's little temple, right? He's got to go somewhere else.
It's Grogu. You can't say Baby Yoda anymore. And Russ, you have to change your show's name now. for legal reasons.
Oh, I already changed the Twitter at Grogu Pod. Go follow at Grogu Pod.
Good. I'm glad you are keeping on the razor's edge of the razor's crest.
We're ready for this.
And you know, like that name was clearly a success because none of us are making fun of it like substantially. And that's a gamble, giving him a name after all this time, because it's like it could be really polarizing if they screwed it up, right?
Yeah, they're gonna call him Skippy, and people are like, "Come on, he was already cute enough." You know.
Like I guess they did a good job because no one's talking about it being terrible, as far as I've noticed yet.
We'll see if it sticks though. Will it stick? I mean, I guess with the hardcores it has, but he's so well known just in consciousness of the internet and stuff as just Baby Yoda.
Right,
they'll be plastering so much of it on all. I mean, it'll be on the merchandise, moving forward.
And
I bet.
That's the only negative thing I heard is that doesn't sound like something that's going to sell a toy. Is going to be seeing, I want the new Grogu toy.
Oh, look at little Grogu.
Well, luckily they've already sold all of those mostly.
Well, yeah,
so it's fine.
I actually just unpackaged my giant, life-size, well, technically life-size, but Grogu pop figure downstairs, so that's sitting there now. It's got a bobblehead.
Well, you probably shouldn't have done that because they're going to reissue the same one, but saying Grogu, and then, that's going to be, the first edition. So, yeah, but you opened it already.
I'm fine with the life choices I've made.
Yeah, no, that's
staring at a prototype Boba Fett helmet.
Yeah, that's a good piece too. But what I was trying to get to is so Ahsoka sort of unpacks his life history as being born in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. So quick pause. Obviously, he's the offspring of Yoda and Yaddle. I've
heard this joke already. Thank you.
But this really sealed the deal because it's episode 1 time, the only time we ever see Yaddle, and
is this the official theory of Knights of Vader?
I mean, no. Well, it's just they're never going to acknowledge it because they don't like talking about that kind of stuff. That's why Palpatine's never actually had a wife to have a son. It was another clone. They're just we're not talking about that. It's a clone. They're never going to address it.
Same with Anakin's birth. Yeah. It's always been very vague as well.
Exactly. They're never going to address it, but clearly that's what's going on here. Next point is just that. So if he was quote unquote being trained through the entire prequels and right up till the birth of the Empire, it really puts in perspective the fact that mentally he's got a lot going on, but for whatever reason this species just takes a couple hundred years to figure out how to speak. So
not a priority.
But if you look at it as so that puts us time-wise 30 years roughly earlier than Mandalorian, right? So they're teaching him 30 years earlier when he was 20 years old. He was advanced enough to actually take Jedi lessons, even though he couldn't talk. So that means that basically we could jump ahead beyond the rise of Skywalker, and he's not much more advanced than we're seeing him now.
Oh, he can think of all the sidekick adventures that they might potentially put him in, because they're still making Clone Wars, aren't they? Making the little X-Force team, the nerd team,
right?
Series. He could be in that Bad Batch, the Bad Batch. They've put it up now that we know that he stayed at the Jedi Temple. He had multiple masters, and he's around. So he is essentially just written into that time period, big time.
And just like they edited out the green shirt crew member, that happened yesterday, I think. Just like they edited that out, they're going to edit in Grogu to previous Clone Wars episodes, just standing in the background here or there. That's retcon him right in the background, just like that.
To his training, really quick, she said in the episode that he had, after somebody had taken him and hidden him away, she said then his memory went black. But then she also said that he's been hiding all of his powers so that people wouldn't key in on him. So I think he's a lot more powerful than what he's shown. I mean, she basically said that he's been hiding the majority of what he can do to not bring attention to himself. So I think that was a part of why we had the little, training montage. And more specifically, Ahsoka wanted to see how strong that connection was between the two of them. Again, going back to her decision as to why she didn't want to train him. But I imagine now that, because to me, he's really established now. He was a character before, but now he's got a name. Now we've got a background, and he has a quest. So suddenly Grogu now, for me, takes on this entirely different sort of persona where he wasn't helpless before, but he was still very much reliant on the Mandalorian. Now that we've been given all this information about him, I'm looking at him going, all right, you are a way more sentient being than I was feeling before, because now he's a sort of a fully fleshed out character.
I can say that.
And he's been surviving for a long time, and who knows? Sort of like we see this gang of Jabba goon type people in possession of him early on, but maybe he was just bouncing around like that, being bought and sold for 30 years or something, whatever it is, 20 years.
This is post Empire is with those guys. I almost got the feeling that they're like that when they talk about a dark period, I'm like, well, he did survive during the entire run of the Empire, that he might have been in contact with Vader or Palpatine at some point.
And by the way, this kid is a baby, and the entire run of the Empire was less than half of his life.
My new little green friend.
And also, once again, I bring up the whole point of someone. How does everyone forget that Jedi and everything like that existed? But anyways, that's neither here nor there. No, I mean, I
cloning secrets of Sith only,
especially when they're still running around attacking magistrates and stuff. That it's literally, that's one thing that I found strange about this was like how many characters from the sort of Clone Wars and Rebel era are just still out there doing all right. Like, and so this the magistrate of the village here, like, she's not shown in the Clone Wars, right? Like, this isn't a character we already know, right?
I don't think so. No, they tried to. There is one race that the Mandalorians, I think, were attacking when in like Bo-Katan's first episode that kind of looked similar to her. I'm not sure what they were called.
Right. I guess.
I don't think. I think this is just some backstory we can. We all know what Filoni does. He sets up little things that he can pick up later in other series, or he's constantly putting wolves and everything, which I am beyond amazed there was no wolves in this episode.
One owl, though,
right?
Yeah.
You get the owl.
You did get the owl and the cat, but no wolves. I was shocked. I would have put money on it, but yeah, continue.
So we're on the spectrum of owls to wolves. Where do chameleon brontosauruses rank?
Wait, so are we saying that those were actually wolves in disguise? Wolves in chameleon clothing?
I don't know. I feel like I liked them more until we got the close up of where it's just literally a chameleon's head on there. Like when in the silhouette with that opening shot where he comes off the ship and there's just three of them back there like making crazy noises, like that was awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. It's this weird Star Wars thing that you really don't understand, but don't worry, there'll be some awesome backstory on them later from fans looking them up and doing all this stuff with them until they're retconned into something else. Dead silence again. Love it.
Space whales.
So we got HKs. Is this the first time, like, live action? Were HKs even a part of the Clone Wars at all? I don't remember being in that at all.
Okay, so
that's great.
What's super awesome about the HKs is also, I think it mentions the model number, like, 83 or something. Like, it says it's 80-something, HK 80-something. And the one from Knights of the Old Republic is 47, right? So in 3,000 years, they got from 47 to 87. It's real. Maybe one model every 100 years. That's all you guys are getting. This is not an iPhone.
So
a reliable model.
So did you catch what they were speaking though?
No.
Huttese.
Oh, were they speaking Huttese?
They were speaking Huttese to each other, which leads me to think that they were something that they got from the Hutts.
Yeah, it sounded a bit like the ball doorman from the first season and Return of the Jedi. He sounded a lot like that.
Yep. So there's my fun fact.
They have the Thrawn's fleet insignia on their helmets. Those were
really
those were original Ralph McQuarrie designed back from the original trilogy HKs too. Those weren't. In one of the art books I have, it shows him in there. He'd done that exact design way back in the 80s. It's pretty cool. Right.
That they did look a lot like I think that was one of those designs that they were trying to work in like in the twilight of the Kenner Star Wars action figure era. There was maybe a concept shot of one of those guys used, and I think they were calling them Clone Warriors or something in that extension of the toy line in '86. They were pitching some new figures to Kenner based on like some concept art. Never happened, but I now that you mention it, that one of those drawings looks very much like these guys.
Oh wow, you mean that Power of the Force line? I was thinking, yeah, of course in the '90s they would have shoved something like this in there, but that early, that's interesting. Clone Warriors, that's great.
Yeah, like they were trying to sort of explain what the Clone Wars were way before Lucas really decided what the Clone Wars were. The toy company took a crack at it, and it was thoroughly denied. Yeah.
This is ridiculous. It's never even been on screen. No kid, you put it in the cartoon at least. No.
Yeah, sorry, Lucas was trying to find this insignia thing real quick.
Yeah, that's a great catch, John. I had no idea. I didn't notice that.
I had this. But... Yeah, I did see someone. I know someone with a better eye who had posted a picture of it pretty up close, and you can see. Yeah, it definitely is the insignia. I like that whole little area where she was, and it was like very like Naboobian once you got in there. Like I just had like it was like sticking Naboo in like the middle of like a burnt down forest. Her inner sanctum with all the water. It's really neat.
It's funny too because I'm genuinely curious, and I could be completely wrong, but I'm genuinely curious where they filmed it, because watching it again before we started recording, there's a shot when the Mando first comes in and the doors close behind him, and she's got what looks like the koi pond. If you look off in the background on the right, it looks like a legitimate straight up like Olympic pool generator.
Yes, against the back wall. I noticed that too. I was like, oh, they have plumbing and stuff in here.
And they're set, but I was like, that looks like where I used to go swim when I lived in Arizona. That's really okay.
And the water had like dirt and sticks in it, like it looked real. So I think that one part was on location at least. But I don't know about you guys, but like some scenes in this felt really strongly like they're filming it on the volume. Like, I don't know, especially like the sort of front gate stuff seemed like real green screen to me, like flat plane that Ahsoka's standing on and this wall and this perspective, like that front gate seemed really phony to me. I don't know about you guys, but something about it was triggering me that this is like not real.
I hate the fact that I know about the volume. It drives me nuts. It's probably not that different from green screen, and I don't like doing it, but I can't help but watch it and try to figure out where the live set stops and the screen begins. And it's one of those few times where I'm like, man, I really wish I didn't know about that, because I hate my mind going to those places. But it reminded me a lot of the reshoots that were done for Solo, especially in the beginning, on this sort of clouded planet where you can't really get any good definition on anything too. I wasn't necessarily a complaint on this. I dug the vibe, but it had that kind of feeling for me when I was watching, especially the scenes when she was in the forest by herself.
Right, but it's like the volume almost lends itself to a specific style of planet and like exterior shot. You know what I mean? Like like you see when the opening sequence of the first chapter, it's just like a lot of very like, it's cool that they can do a lot with the reflections and the light interacting with his armor because it's physically there, but it almost feels like there's a lot of these really wide open flat planes, and it almost feels like they're keeping the camera lower to the ground at times because that sort of helps with the perspective of like sort of faking a horizon. I don't know, I feel like there's been a lot of sort of things that sort of tip their hand, and I mean, part of it's because they gave us 8 episodes of Disney Gallery, like, and there's something nice about like actually having that bonus material. It's sort of in line with the tradition of Star Wars to do that, but it feels really close to the time this is in production because they're still using everything we saw in that first season of Disney Gallery on this season, and it's almost like we know too much. Completely.
They reused that door again. There's that same archway from Force Awakens. Well, you will notice, I know it's a McQuarrie thing, but you notice the archways are becoming just more of a Star Wars staple in the Disney era.
And that's like a Tatooine. And I don't know if that was a McQuarrie that was like contemporary with the original trilogy, or if it was, because a lot of the McQuarrie stuff that they're recycling was done for that 95 or 96 book that illustrated the Star Wars universe, where he like really I think he made a ton of new stuff for that book, and I think you could get that for a lot cheaper than you can get that new 2-part gigantic Macquarie Portfolio book. But I regret not buying that when it was at retail. I think maybe it still is, but it's like $300 or something like that.
No, you're gonna see it all on film. In some point.
Yeah, but I feel like that might have been like a mid-90s drawing, the archway you're talking about, but I'm not 100% on that.
I love that thing. It gets a lot of use. I mean, it's becoming, very Star Wars specific.
Yeah, it's a gong now, but...
All right, that was pretty cool. And I guess I like the goons here. I know they looked weird, like almost Nazi stormtrooper with their weird black leather and that breathing apparatus thing. But they're cool looking villains. I mean, very Star Warsy, but I don't feel like we've seen that guy before.
I don't think we've seen these outfits and everything before. Sorry, I'm like going to clips from the episode real quick.
Did you guys think, like, I don't know if it was those guards or if it was the droids, but like one of them sounded a lot like Two Tubes from Rogue One. Like the voice was like really similar to that.
Little Two Tubes.
Yeah.
I got vibes of Bosch, of Princess Leia in the helmet.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's Huttese too, I guess, right?
Oh, was it? Okay, maybe that's what I was keying.
Well, I mean, no, I'm pretty sure it is, because I don't think there was much other than that, especially by Return of the Jedi.
So this, real quick, this popped up on Twitter, and I know that this was one thing that this was my guess that I was curious about. So I thought Rosario Dawson did an amazing job playing Ahsoka. I don't know if we'll go back to that or not. But the one thing that stuck out was her headpiece. The Leku, I guess they're called.
Yes.
Apparently, and this was my guess, the concept designer was on Twitter answering questions and said they shortened them to fit Rosario Dawson better, and especially because of it being live action and her movement, they couldn't be as long as they were in the cartoon. So I know a lot of people were, and I was too. I was wondering because they're definitely shorter than what we're used to seeing. And in the flashback episode in the Mortis arc, when you see a really old Clone Wars Ahsoka, they were super long. But yeah, it looks like it was just for practical purposes for doing the saber, wielding and all that. They had to make those shorter.
Well, I'm glad. Go ahead.
What'd you think of the look overall? Because I know I was kind of staring at them. They did make them look, I guess, fleshy enough. I don't know. That's one of those things I was like, I don't know. I know we've seen it barely in Revenge of the Sith. Don't we see Shakti is a member of the same alien species, right?
Yes.
Well, that's just deleted scenes then. So yeah, it's hard to judge seeing these on screen.
First of all, pour one out for Shakti. Actually, pour 3 out for Shakti.
I was going to say, how many do we have to pour
for 4?
Yeah.
I've killed her in like 5 different video games too.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yep. 2 a deleted scene, off-screen death, and
was
video
animated.
game death. Yeah. There you go.
Force Unleashed.
Yep.
Yeah, don't you throw in a giant Sarlacc or something at one point?
That
was a fun level.
You electrocute her with Force Lightning and then toss her into a Sarlacc, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, great, ridiculously like out there costume too. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
but
like she's got her Leku tied like weirdly, like in like a ponytail somehow.
Yeah, the Jedi Order, like they really felt very liberated after the Order was destroyed. I guess I don't know, something was different going on there with
a lot of straps, straps everywhere.
Yeah, but so I'm glad the costume designer was on Twitter sort of dealing with idiots who were complaining about her Leku being too short, because it's like, I'm glad they said the obvious reason that anyone who knows anything about film would probably come to, which is that if she has something a meter long dangling off her head, it's going to be hard to do action sequences and they're going to look weird.
Yeah, it's like Jabba's tail on both sides of her body or something.
Well, exactly. And they're just redesigning it. We haven't seen her in live action before. And if you really need to bend over backwards to make an in-universe explanation, it's not the hardest thing to do.
You just say they mold.
They get shorter as she gets older.
Or they mold and they can just like to make a comic book reference, like Hellboy, it's pointed out that he like sands down his horns so they don't grow. Maybe like her species, if they're more active, like cut them down or do something to where they don't grow as long.
Maybe she just washed it, and whatever the environment of this planet is, it makes it frizz up, and it just tightens up. And it could be anything.
There you go. Perfect.
I like
she's a grower, not a okay.
Stop.
So if she's scared or she's got a battle, they get shorter. But if she's relaxed, they get longer.
There you go. Dank Farrick. I can't do this.
On that subject, what do you guys sort of make of this whole, like, there's so much nonsense going on like social media about like the whole Ashley Eckstein versus Rosario Dawson thing. Like there's one side of it. There's one side of it that I'm not even gonna get into. That's just like complete nonsense.
Okay,
and then there's just
before we get into that, I do want to say I feel like them being shorter made it feel more realistic and more like. I just feel like if they had made it bigger, like made them bigger like they were in the shows, it would have looked ridiculous. And I would have been staring at them the whole time going, this looks silly. Or if they digitally put them in, it would have even been worse. So I'm just happy it looked fine.
I was just wondering if they were going to move, so I was like watching for them to like do stuff.
They don't really move or do anything in the in anything else. And I know in the books, she mentions them as like pulling them back or something. I think she actually does mention that they molt.
Those things seem painful to have. I'm glad to stick on my human head.
Okay, but we all think that like it's fine, and Rosario Dawson did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
right? Like,
she did. As an older,
she's the true Ahsoka. I don't know if that Ashley Eckstein girl needs to just relax,
hot takes.
And you know, it's so funny. They responded. It's almost like it's like this, you know how on South Park how Disney is run by like a cartoon Mickey and he's like all angry and like yells at everyone. It's like that version of Mickey told Ashley Eckstein and Rosario Dawson to have a public conversation on Twitter, just thanking each other for being part of the wonderful team Ahsoka. And like it seems they did that like today or yesterday, and it seemed so forced and called from the boss. Just said, I see all this crap going on online. Just say hi to each other and say you both did a great job right now. It's just,
My thought, there was actually, I don't know if it's the same thing you were talking about, but I know she put out a lengthy statement.
That was a while back though, right? Like that was when the casting rumors were going around.
Oh, is that when that was put out? Okay.
I know I know Ashley said something when all the rumors were first circling.
This was new. I remember because I read it when I did my show today. She said now that she's been introduced. So this was a new statement that she put out.
Okay.
And it was fine. It was fairly benign. It was just like, she wants to see the character be around, and she was pleased at all the fans. She didn't mention Rosario Dawson by name or anything specific. It felt a little forced, but my quick take on this is I'm really tired of this. I wish the fandom would be a little bit more intellectually honest about stuff and be sort of less going down this road of entitlement, Like, for a good example, Mark Hamill in that Director and the Jedi for the Last Jedi documentary, he was very vocal about how he fundamentally disagreed with things that Rian Johnson did. But then he was also very keen to go, but you know what? It's his job to direct me. I'm just reading what's in front of me. I'm just given this role. He didn't take this ownership of it. And I don't think Ashley Eckstein has either, but, and Chris, I think you mentioned it, if you follow TV or movies or just content creation at all, these are very big decisions that need to be made. And if they're looking at Ahsoka Tano as being this long-term character for live action, potentially movies, I'm sorry, you can't use a person like Ashley Eckstein. It's just not going to work. She doesn't have the acting chops on that front. And that's no dig on her. She does her voice spectacularly. I'm sure that she is a decent enough actress, but Rosario Dawson is has been around for a long time, is a very well-known, well-respected, actress. And if they're looking long-term, they can't just go, well, Ashley did the voice, so she should play the live action. No, you've got to make decisions that are best to grow the franchise, and introducing the fans who may not be familiar with Ahsoka to the live-action version for the first time is crucial to get right. And I would have been shocked if they had gone with Ashley Eckstein. And I probably would have said that it was the wrong move, unless she blew us away. But I just don't think that she would have the chops for that.
Okay, a couple things real quick.
No. I've got to say, John, I am offended that you would go after Ashley Eckstein, star of Nickelodeon's Guts, as herself, Ashley the Face, her acting debut, by the way.
Yeah,
So
I I just saw. Wait, hold
94.
on. Twitter just now. Ashley Eckstein put hashtag not my Ahsoka. She's trying to get.
Oh God, no!
And it's getting dirty.
Okay,
No, I have no idea.
so let's the two things we got to appreciate. A, John Justice had just provided evidence that he listens to the show when he's not on it. So like everyone give him a round of applause for that. That's great. And secondly, what I basically said was, I think what he gave a very like in-depth entertainment industry perspective on what I said on the previous episode, which was, I think the way I phrased it was, it's called having a casting director.
Yes, yes.
Much other than that. But John explained it a lot better right there. So that was great.
Well, no, I mean, he has to listen to the episodes to make sure that I'm doing the promotion I'm supposed to do for him, because John Justice, author of the Embark series, and check out his upcoming book. Oh my gosh, I blanked on it. John, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I misfortune due sometime before Christmas.
I was like, it's asteroid something. I could not remember what the end part was. So I'm like, I'm gonna mess it up and be embarrassed. I owe you $5 back for your promotion this week. Sorry.
Is this? We go back to Shill Zinger again. This is like every week now.
Every week is always Shill Zinger. What don't you people understand? I'm just here for the money. Anyways, what else I'm here for is a good night's sleep, and you can do that with your oh my gosh, I can't think of any of the ads now.
Patreon.com/Unbelievers Podcast.
Thank you. Yes.
I think you got to read the Blue Chew ad. I think that's the last one you have to do.
Yeah. Blue Chew. Chew it.
Yeah, I can't remember the mattress company's name either.
Casper. Oh, yeah, there we go. Casper. Yeah, for a good night's sleep, check out Casper mattresses. Apparently, I've not been sleeping on one because I can't remember what the ad is. So, use code I listen to nights at checkout. It's a long one, but it will get you a discount.
I mean, you could try it, sure.
Please, someone else
Stranger
talk.
things have happened.
Wait, is that really trending on Twitter, or did you just say that for the fun of it?
Yeah, I just was messing around.
Oh, okay. I was like, for real?
Thing, does Michael Biehn have any connection to Alien 3, Chris, before we
Oh,
wind up
God,
wrapping this up?
dang it.
Oh man, so
Thank
Michael
Ferrick.
Cloned in there or anything?
Michael Biehn has a great connection to Alien 3, where I believe so. As y'all remember from watching Alien 3, one of the best movies in the franchise, you'll remember that Michael Bihn's character was killed off screen. Basically, the escape pod from the Sulaco crashes, and he's sort of killed in some fire or something. His pod burns up. So they did a body cast of Michael Biehn during Aliens, so that and without his permission, they used that to make a dummy of his dead body for Alien 3. And he found out about that. He found out about that, and engaged Fox in a little bit of legal trouble. And if I'm not mistaken, he was actually paid more for his non-appearance in Alien 3 than he was for Aliens.
I can back that up. That's 100% true.
That's amazing. What did they do the same for Newt?
No,
I'm not
Newt
sure.
didn't even. That was a blur.
You know what? I don't know. You almost see her a little better because they do perform an autopsy on her, but
those cuts are so quick though.
Yeah, it's a tough call, but there's not the fun legal story of her being paid more than she was for Aliens.
Yeah, it's almost like Back to the Future 1 and 2 with Crispin Glover. It's amazing.
Yeah, that was weird when I was told that Crispin Glover was not in Back to the Future 2.
No, it fooled me for a long time until the internet came around and told me my business about it.
Right. This Alien 3 moment has been brought to you by Chris, who thinks that Alien 3 is good.
And sign up for this week's Alien 3 loot box. He's been sending out just great little... He writes down little tidbits about Alien 3 in a box, and you get to open them and quiz your family.
And if you want to see more from what Ridley Scott's up to, watch HBO Max's Raised by Wolves. And if you don't have an HBO Max subscription, make sure to use code ZengThis at checkout.
Or use code Filoni. Code Filoni for Wolves is my thing. Trying. Hashtag cowboy hat.
Hashtag we are shills. So, I mean, like I said, this was a great episode. I think the live action, Ahsoka, perfectly fine. I have no complaints here. I think it's perfectly great. I do think, yes, casting directors do matter, apparently. Is Ashley Eckstein a good Ahsoka? In voiceover and everything? Yes, I'll give it to her. I'm trying to think of another instance of this, because I swear there is one. of somebody that did the voice of the character, but then there's the live action.
Okay, so you've got the guy who did Garfield's voice, and then Bill Murray did the voice in the movie. But
okay, movie shouldn't have been made to begin with, so there's that.
But,
so let's put that to bed real quick.
But also, that guy was getting was getting his comeuppance because he did the voice of Bill Murray in the Ghostbusters cartoon, based off of the Ghostbusters movie. So he was Venkman and Garfield, but then Venkman came back and stole his character Garfield from him for the movie.
Whoa.
There you go.
I just want the dead silence after that because that was a deep
Yeah,
cut.
let me sit in it.
Let's face it, Alien 3 is slightly more interesting than Garfield.
Dang Ferrick.
A Tale of Two Kitties? You serious?
You know, when I started this record today, I never thought I'd have to sit here and listen to a Garfield conversation. Live action.
Wait,
Garfield.
you're recording this?
I'm staying out of the Garfield conversation.
As everyone should. I hate Mondays.
John, I'm tired of your crap about the Bill Murray Garfield movies not being canon, okay? You need to lay it off.
I thought you were talking to John Garfield's dad or whatever for a second.
I think they're owners, but that's I guess a different thing. My thing is I don't know where they're gonna go. How many episodes do we have left, by the way, of this season? Because I'm like, okay, so are the last 2 episodes gonna be some connected big thing where, of course, Gideon catches up with them, or everyone joins back up and everything?
Basically, they'll be in a bar and there's gonna be 20 dark troopers outside shooting at the bar window, and then they're gonna climb in the sewer.
Man,
it's going to be Carl Weathers, Cara Cynthia Dune, Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan, Boba Fett. Everyone we've met this year, all our new friends, and Frogman.
Oh no! You forgot Dreamy Sheriff Pants too. Sorry, Dreamy Marshall Pants
will be there. Absolutely.
It'll be him instead of Boba Fett. That's one of the things it sort of underlined this episode for me is they really are dropping so many threads. And I don't know how we feel about the validity of these Boba Fett miniseries rumors.
No.
Yeah, but I'm 50-50 on them. I think the Ahsoka's more likely.
Yeah.
Right.
To define miniseries, 3 episodes, episode.
I think they said 6, and it would be similar to the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah, it's like Roots.
That's the rumor.
They still have the story. They still have the story of the movie that never got made. So, there's a whole conceivably at least treatment or script sitting out there. I don't remember when that time frame was supposed to be for that, but so they still have hope. I bet they have a bunch of production work, a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they probably picked that script up and they go, "You guys stole every action scene for the Mandalorian from this, the bar thing, the Gamorreans fighting, all the Boba Fett's."
I heard the Prison Break episode was it's so hard to tell which of this is true, but I heard the Prison Break episode was right from the Boba Fett movie that was never made.
I'm just
dang it, we even had Clancy Brown penciled in there as the devil.
Okay, here's my thing with that. Is anyone here interested in a Boba Fett miniseries? After we've had everything with Mandalorian?
Sure, I'm tired of sitting here wondering about how that dude crawled out of the Sarlacc and all the
you just described
not canon things, everything. But let's.
You just described the entire episode. What is it? 6 episodes of him trying to climb out of the Sarlacc?
No, you know what? One, and then he goes on his own thing, and he gets sniper with him.
I was interested till we all found out that 6 years after he crawled out of the Sarlacc, he has moved 2 kilometers.
See, that's why I am interested. I'm only interested because of what they've introduced in The Mandalorian. So I only want to know, all right, why haven't you gone after the armor? Why are you seemingly interested in the armor now? And what have you been up to?
Because he knows he's a fake Mandalorian. And he knows that he is no match for a true Mandalorian.
Hey, if it was 6 episodes, we're all at least watching all 6 episodes.
Sure.
Well, because I am contractually obligated by Zack to do it, and also by Quip. It brushes your teeth.
So here, real quick before because then I have to go. So here's my keeping with my theory of the 3 seasons matching the original trilogy. I think that this season's going to end on a cliffhanger. I think the cliffhanger is going to be that Grogu is going to get kidnapped, probably, or taken by Moff Gideon, but not either before or right after whomever the Jedi is that he reaches out to when the Mandalorian inevitably gets to the planet that Ahsoka said. That's going to be the tease. So if it's Luke, maybe it was Ahsoka setting up to try to find Ezra. Maybe it's Cal Kestis. I think that's going to be the big stinger to cushion the blow that we have to wait a year to find out what happens to Grogu because he's going to get taken by Moff Gideon.
I think it's going to be Galen Merrick, but I mean, I can keep hoping on that because it's never going to happen. I like it. I do think this will end on a cliffhanger. I do agree with you. I love your theory of that these 3 seasons are just cinematically just the original trilogy. There is no evidence to disprove that yet, and I love it. Thank you so much, John, for introducing me to this idea because I am on board.
So this means at the end of this, we're going to get an I am your father Force Ghost moment at that temple?
Oh, no, someone's got their hand cut off.
Okay, Grogu loses a hand, but Force Ghost Yoda is there.
Oh my gosh! Oh my god! Force Ghost Yoda tells him I'm your father.
There you go.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first on and also be the first to get your butcher box. Use code Knights at checkout. Chris, your thoughts on this?
All right, so Yoda is his father.
No,
but they're not
I
gonna
meant your
say
thoughts
it. They're not
on
gonna say it.
Butcher Box. Like, tell us how great Butcher Box is.
You know, after 3 months, I've really been enjoying it. I think after they stop sponsoring us, I'm gonna cancel my subscription. But
Good.
I've been enjoying the 2 months that we've got so far. But
I've been hoarding mine. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about the world. I'll let you know after the apocalypse.
Yeah, it's filling up the freezers in the bomb shelter, right? But so Yoda's his dad. They're not gonna ever say it, but Yoda's his dad, and they gave him an exemption for not the rule of not having a family because they realized that there was only 2 members left of their species. All right. So other than that, it was fun, but like Zenger's early comments really distilled my opinion on this. It seems kind of forced that she didn't take a greater role in the series at this point. It seems like she shouldn't be a one and done episode kind of thing. And I suppose they're probably working on a series for her, whether that's like a really short 6-episode thing or something more open-ended. It's hard to say, but it seems too obvious the formula dictating the narrative here for me.
This is our pilot in essence. This was the pilot of anything Ahsoka related. They want to see how it went, and I'd say it went pretty well. I've seen the reaction you've seen so far has been pretty great. So
no, that's
you can
good.
book it.
I just think she should care more about what happens to this kid, and there's something more like the and what she tells him to do is just too much for me. It's like, go to this here mountain and like play a flute, and then maybe a Jedi will like come get you or something. I don't know. That was a bit much for me. That's just a little bit too obscure. But
if anyone knows weird Force things you do that open up dimensions and realms and wormholes, it's Ahsoka. She's always getting sucked into some weird thing involving an old temple and a Sith Lord or an Inquisitor. I don't know.
Right,
This is a child. Hey! This is a family friendly show, Russ. That's your warning. Talking about getting sucked into temples.
It happened in that
I thought it was the wormholes that you were.
That was.
Took me a second.
Yeah.
I liked it. It seemed the ending. I couldn't get my head around why she wasn't more interested in what happens to
I'm
this
sure
kid,
we'll
but
find out in her standalone series when we get that later.
there it is.
So I love how we have refused to talk about Thrawn, and we are out of time too. So I guess when Zack gets back, he can enthrone us with his opinion on it. Yeah, there you go.
Remake of the Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy and direct to Disney Plus movies, or we riot.
Yeah, Grand Admiral Timothy Thrawn. I can't wait.
Awesome. I guess on that note, we're gonna end this episode because I think we've done enough to Zach's mental state from having to edit this. So on that note, John, where can people find more from you? I think we lost John.
I think you just got to read his plug.
Sorry, hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on.
We're making
Duty
editing.
calls.
We're making editing for Zach, and I love it.
Well, it's not too much. We were pretty good. I feel like this was the most like straightforward, formulaic, functional episode KOV has probably ever had. Like, honestly.
I mean, you only talked
We're
about...
all trying to behave for John. That's why.
Well, no, it's...
I'm sorry, I'm back. There's apparently a toilet overflowing in the house, and so I had children.
You just have to tell us about that awesome saga you've written one more time.
Yeah. Just plug your book and then plunge that toilet.
MyNerdWorld.net. Just go to MyNerdWorld.net. You can check out my science fiction space opera series there, and also the My Nerd World podcast, and Twitter at John Jon Justice or at the My Nerd World. There you go. MyNerdWorld.net.
All right, and now he has to leave to go to the bathroom of misfortune.
Been talking with you.
All right.
This is the way
wait. One more thing, John, before you go. One more thing. Did you catch the Dune reference?
The Dune reference.
He's got a Dune Sea in his bathroom right now. Let him go.
The planet and the city apparently are a Dune reference. I'm not familiar with it, but I was told that it was. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Anyways, Thanks for being on, John. You go.
Bye.
You go do what you need to do. All right. Chris, where can people find more from you when you're not on here talking about Alien? I swear we're just gonna have an Alien episode, and it's gonna kill me.
You know, it was so much work to not really get into it the last time I was on with Zack, and he was like talking all that crap about Alien 3. We'll deal with it at some point. But you can find me at the Chris Porteous on Instagram, and based on last week's theory, probably on Knights of Vader at least one more time.
And
Festivus
11
coming up soon, right? Or can you just get this out? You and Zack can just hash this out for good for Festivus.
Oh god dang it, Festivus is coming out.
Yeah, you got a topic. You guys kind of cheated.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
All right, whatever. Festivus coming for you, Ashley Eckstein. Check me out, Unbelievers Podcast. Comes out every week. Got a new episode about the Flatwoods Monster coming out.
Yeah!
Zenger has sat in, gets spoken about. You get to hear us talking about Zenger.
There's multiple of those benches.
I have a question for you, though, involving that. Have you ever acquired all 5 Flatwoods benches? Did you ever sit in all 5 of them?
No, I have not, though I do have the thing where the locations are. And also, fun fact, the actual
one
landing
is in a Turkish bathhouse. That's something we talk about, and we mentioned you trying to find that one. So yes.
Thank you so much. Fun fact: the actual landing site is on private property, and the person who owns that property is very angry about anyone trying to go see it, including the History Channel. So
yes, cannot go there anymore.
Cannot go there anymore, and I almost found out the hard way. But that's a story for another day. I'm Zenger, and you can of course find me every week on this show, and then also, unfortunately, on my other show, Zing This, where we discuss nerdy topics every week. And if I'm remembering correctly, for this week it's going to be a discussion on round table Nights at the Round Table, completely separate thing from this, where I do a movie with 2 other hosts of 2 other podcasts, and we discuss terrible movies. And this week it is going to be the Tesla movie that features Ethan Hawke, and it is awful. It is
I didn't even know there was a Tesla movie.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. Go watch the trailer. You don't need to watch the movie. Unless you really like Jim Gaffigan. He's randomly in it as a human Q-tip. Literally. Anyways, on that note, this has been Knights of Vader. I forget how Zack ends this. I guess An's Superiority Complex will play us out. And I am saying An, as in a person's name, Superiority Complex. Just so we're clear. There's no confusion. I know, but I'm making sure that it is clear that someone's like, did he say An Superiority Complex? No, I said An Superiority Complex. So take that. No, it is An Superiority Complex. An.
Superiority Complex. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hot Pockets.